The Whirlpool Galaxy was the first celestial object identified as being spiral and the first to have its own ice maker. So, if you're going to have a party, give us some dead bugs tonight. We're all in the mood for roach carcasses, and you've got chemicals to fight. Suddenly, our head of accounting began discussing issues with JoJo eyeballs and toe jam footballs.
God.
I noticed he wore no shoe shine. Unskinny Bop just blows me away. Unskinny Bop, and nothing more to say. Questions? I have about 14.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
Episode 20 begins.
So, you know what kind of struck me as odd? Especially this morning, I was, I love to cook and put on music and dance all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that like dogs and cats have very little reaction to music? You never see a cat, start to groove. A bird will.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we used to have a bird that went nuts at that Steve Miller song that had the birds in it, Jungle Love.
Okay.
And he would sing along, but he also would dance to like different music. Dogs and cats, not unless I pick them up and dance with them. And that's probably dancing with them against their wishes.
I like grabbing the black cat and running through the house like she's a football. Weaving a pattern. She hates it.
Literally a pussy cat. She basically puts up with just about anything.
Yeah.
She rarely bites. The only time she gives you the claw is when she wants scritches.
True. Yeah.
You score Zytron the insistent. But it's so odd, isn't it? That people have tons. Anybody who has a dog or cat who dances, I want to know.
Yeah. Remember your friend that had her boyfriend would wear a hoodie all the time, and when she hurt his feelings, he would put the hood up. That was like his "you hurt my feelings, so my hood's up" thing. That's actually not a bad system,
Well, he wouldn't
So
actually voice.
Imagine like the hood would be up, and she'd be like, "Oh, what did I do?"
Exactly.
So
that was his like cloak of protection.
Yep. Oh, the hood's up. Don't talk to me. Yeah. So let's talk about rock and roll. This is a rock and roll show.
Considering we're just talking about music.
He smiled, so I got up and asked for his name. That don't matter, he said, because it's all the same. Said, can I take you home where we can be alone? I think it's fair to say that the lyrics to I Love Rock and Roll gave me an unrealistic impression of the dating landscape when I was 15 years old. I remember hearing the song. I was like in 6th grade, and I thought, that's all I got to say? I don't even have to tell her who I am. That's great.
God.
And then I heard Magic Man by Heart, and that further confused me. You don't have to know me, and let's get high a while. Immediate sex and drugs. Chuck was apparently even better than Jones dude at bringing it home.
Well, he was a magic man after all.
I guess. You had something like this.
I actually had a rando guy who was just buying me drinks, but who I actually had no interest in.
Yeah.
I had more interest in the free drinks.
Yeah.
But he asked my name and I just did a dramatic, let's not mess this up with names.
That's well done.
Before
we forget, this week's sponsor is But Yours Is Uglier Soda. And it is. So let's not talk about it anymore.
Oh my God. Yeah, he just looked really confused. So I thought I was being slick.
Just between you and me, since you brought up Steve Miller.
Yeah.
Billy Mack is a detective down in Texas. And here's the thing. He knows exactly what the facts is.
Well, that is his job.
Now, that's a rhyme if I've ever heard one. Plus, I heard he makes money off other people's taxes.
Oh, my.
Imagine. Yeah. Imagine Steve Miller goes to bed one night and he's like, I've bitten off more than I can chew. I'll never find something that will rhyme with abracadabra. And then in the middle of the night, he's like, I want to reach out and grab you. Genius.
That's a really tough one.
Yeah. Let's say you saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. Now, that's not something you see every day, but the important detail is what?
His hair was perfect.
Just in case you were worried about the cosmetology situation. Yeah.
I bet somebody got him one of those wolfscaping kits.
Here's a good one. Unskinny Bop just blows me away. Unskinny Bop and nothing more to say. Questions? I have about 14. Yeah.
Yeah, what is your fat? Then is it a non-skinny flop, 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 flop?
MTV played that so
Oh
many
my
times.
God.
But think about it. It really would be a great name for like a woman's plus size retailer. Unskinny Shop. The prices blow me away.
Dresses the size of barn.
You say your big fat ass is lumpy. Got a sale on stretchy jeans. Yeah. I can't believe it hasn't been taken by Dress Barn or something.
Yeah, I couldn't believe there was a store called Dress Barn.
Yeah.
That just has horrible implications. Oh, are you cows, you horses? Good.
Hey.
Yeah, piglet. I mean, really? Dress Barn? That's what I was
Actually, hang on the floor. People complained, including me, about David Lee Roth's ridiculous, all his boozy bop stuff, right? Which are annoying.
Not
But-
even scattered properly.
Of course, he never came up with the ultimate winner. Only time will tell if we'll stand the test of time. What the hell is that, Sammy Hagar?
That's some double talk.
Tis like Hamlet. What a genius.
It's like to be or not to be. That is the question.
Yeah.
It's kind of that double speaky weirdness. But it's not like, Cher, if I could turn back time. But I'm pretty confident a lot of that plastic surgery she had actually accomplished that. I'm pretty sure.
Not many people know this, but originally that song was entitled If I Could Turn Back Immigrants, and it was going to take place at the Laredo border. It's kind of controversial, but I mean, Cher needed a kickstart to her career at that point. Somebody at Customs Border Patrol put the kibosh on it, Wasn't very PC, and it throws off the cadence of the song, so not cool,
One of the best aspects of our relationship is that you don't even have to read my mind to know what I have in mind.
You don't have to read my mind to know what I have in mind. Boy, was that Lou Graham? Ugh.
Yeah, we hardly ever need that psychic anymore.
We just finish each other's sentences, I guess. Yeah. Hey, we've all been there, sitting on a park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. However, I would get some Kleenex because the whole snot running down the nose thing doesn't work. It's kind of a buzzkill for the Zoomers,
Yeah, it's not super COVID protocol, dude.
Definitely not. Yeah.
And seriously, have you heard of Me Too? You
Yeah.
and your dog and can tell your story walking before we call a cop.
It was a typical Tuesday at the office when suddenly our head of accounting began discussing issues with JoJo eyeballs and toe jam footballs.
God.
I noticed he wore no shoe shine. After some frank discussion and a fresh pot of coffee, the entire department ended up coming together. Plus, it made some great discussion at happy hour. So,
You don't wear no perfume.
and we did talk with Davy, who's still in the Navy, but we also discussed career options with Becky, who's become quite the techie. Bought around for Carol, who's into apparel, and finally Michael, who likes to recycle.
And sometimes bicycle and probably scooters once or twice.
Maybe unicycles. Kill us some bugs, you're the Orkin man. Give us some dead bugs tonight. We're all in the mood for roach carcasses, and you've got chemicals to fight. That's a good one. Of course, to say we're considering the best places to start a family, I think we have to rule out, let's ask Elton John, Mars.
Oh, God.
It ain't the kind of place to raise your kids. In fact, it's cold as hell. Yeah.
Maybe Venus would be better. It's supposed to be really like a sauna, hot, gassy, sulfuric acid. It would be nice and tropical, smelly, but hey, so are children.
That's a good point. Yeah. Which brings us to universal humor. They say that, astronomers say that Mercury is super hot on the surface, but full of ice, impossibly. And because of sodium particles, it has a long, beautiful tail. So, super hot, full of ice, nice tail. I must have dated Mercury. I don't remember it, but Jupiter has had the same raging storm going on for over 300 years, which I would say is impressive. But if Jupiter ever gets into an argument with my ex, the 300 years is going to seem like nothing.
They also have the same nickname,
What, Jupiter and my ex?
the gas giant.
Oh, yes.
Exactly the same.
I like it. I like it. Now, the Whirlpool Galaxy was the first celestial object identified as being spiral. and the first to have its own ice maker. So, if you're going to have a party, you want to invite the Whirlpool Galaxy.
For a good time,
Yeah. No.
But in terms of square kilometers, Pluto is technically smaller than the United States. Americans are much better dancers, however,
That's very
which
important.
gets left out of most scientific
Yeah.
publications.
Plutonians, they can't jitterbug to save their ass. So, yeah.
Plus, Pluto was kicked out of the Planet Club. I mean,
Bummer.
it was an oddball from the beginning with its crazy ass elliptical orbit. I mean, all the other planets are like, who even does that? Plus, I mean, there is zero gravitation domination. I mean, it's like it doesn't even try.
Yeah.
So I heard it's upset about being called now a dwarf planet because there's a PC lobby to call it a little person planet or LPP.
You down with the LPP?
You know me.
The footprints on the moon will never fade because there's no wind, according to scientists. The people at Reebok have got to be kicking themselves if we're missing that promotional opportunity. Can you imagine?
Yeah, just mark it up. It's like instead of Nike, just do it, right? Yeah, definitely. But I think it's further proof that the moon landing was not fake because somebody would have smudged them up by now or spilled wine on them.
So the reverse of a black hole in space is supposedly a white hole. According to scientists, they can't mathematically prove that they exist. I just say they're not watching the right Pornhub channel. I mean, I can help them out if they need it.
But I know quantum physics, crazy reverse wormhole, double talk. It causes me to eject material at a rapid clip too. It just makes my head hurt.
Read something that apparently there are more stars in space than grains of sand on Earth.
Huh.
Whoever wrote that has obviously not been in my backseat.
And my bathing suit bottom.
Yeah.
Like shake it for days.
The Kuiper Belt is a region of the solar system beyond the orbit of Neptune. It has a zipper for your iPhone, snazzy donut, sleek styling, and if you wear it when you go jogging, you'll lose a few hundred calories, I've heard. So,
apparently it identifies as a trans-Neptunian object. So get your pronouns correct. Also, it's really touchy if you confuse it with the Oort cloud. I mean, comet, please.
Apparently, Saturn is so light in terms of being made of gas, it actually could float in water, according to astronomers.
A lot of water.
Well, what's more, her time in the 25-meter butterfly is equivalent of 23 seconds, so she qualified.
Probably due to the fact it also has the highest winds out of all the planets. I mean, when you train in those conditions, surely you can dust Michael Phelps.
Yeah. So the seventh planet from the sun was originally called not Uranus. It was called George's star.
After Ringo Starr?
Now, after William Herschel, his new patron was King George III. Eventually it was changed to Uranus, which is actually the name for the ancient Greek deity of the heavens. Other names considered were Cleopatra's kidney stone and Muffy's sidewinder, rolls on its side like an out-of-control dreidel all the time. That nerdy Bill Nye the Science Guy offered honk if your sister's a whore, but that was poo-pooed immediately. Let's talk about our feature interview.
Our feature interview this week is with John Famiglietti of the Los Angeles industrial metal band HEALTH. We have a fascinating discussion with John about a wide range of topics, including the making of their latest record, Rat Wars. We get into some classic rock trivia, talk about kimonos, DJing, even a touch on cannibalism. So stay tuned for that.
He's alarmingly well-informed. So let's play a song. This is from the original Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack. It's called Major Crimes. Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcasts. It is crammed to the rafters with bonus content that you can't get anywhere else. And for $6.66 a month, you get more Mark and Stace than anyone would be able to handle.
That's less than you spend at Dunkin' Donuts.
This week, I uploaded a couple of reviews. This is for a Japanese grindcore band called Nave. I'll show you some of the inside of this. This is really something. And also a disc that we received from Howard from Zahn, Howard Helm. band is called Aldenfield. Are these any good? Are these worth talking about? You'll just have to get over to Patreon and see.
I definitely, now that I have my food processor cookbook, are going to test out a few more recipes and bring only the best to our patrons.
Very good. Yes. We get over there now. We desperately need help.
Maryland Death Fest tickets are coming, people.
And we
need help.
we need a little cheddar cheese for that. So back in school, did you ever notice, I always thought US history was a lot more interesting than world history. Stuff like there was just so many cool little nuggets from history, like the election of 1800 between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson was the first actual smear campaign, right?
Wow.
A newspaper in Connecticut said electing Jefferson would create a nation where murder, robbery, rape, adultery, and incest were openly to be taught and practiced.
Wow. That's some real, true, solid family values there. I mean, this country, you can't have a random raping without some unplanned pillaging. Come on.
It actually happened, yeah. One journalist wrote that Adams behaved neither like a man nor like a woman, but instead possessed a hideous hermaphroditic character.
What did he run around in lingerie?
Apparently, he's a forerunner to RuPaul. He didn't know about it. I was reading an article about population, and did you know that Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Wyoming have less humans than they do cattle?
Wow.
Let us know if you have a beef with that.
Where's the beef?
I love this one. In 1912, Teddy Roosevelt was shot in the chest with a .38 when he was waiting to give his speech. And he gave it anyway. He wouldn't go to the hospital. He said, it takes more than that to stop a bull moose. I guess that was like the precursor to Republicans, I think. He was also known to go on strenuous hikes and then strip down and skinny dip in the Potomac.
Wow.
And he was not afraid of shrinkage, apparently. So,
Not afraid at all. God, that Potomac's cold.
what you do this next one? This is really something.
Teddy Roosevelt commissioned a group of battleships on long voyages to drum up public support for the Navy.
True.
When Congress threatened to withhold funding for the voyages, he said he had enough to send them out. But Congress would have to pay or have a bake sale or something, raffle off something to bring them back.
You can't make this shit up. So literally, he was just going to make Congress the bad guys. Hey, I sent you out. Sorry, you're stuck in Venezuela. What a genius.
Start picking some cookies.
Gerald Ford had 2 assassination attempts in the same 30-day period.
Wow.
Both assassination attempts were women.
Wow.
There's an interesting.
Was there any word if this was a Steve McNair type thing?
I think he was the man who fell down a lot. Yes, right. Another thing about U.S. history. I had a teacher right out of college, right? He was so excited to be teaching U.S. history. And he wanted to teach us about the voting process. He was very excited. It was an election year. And he had this big he had this big clunky VHS camera, right? Because it was 85, 86, whatever.
They were bigger than, boom.
Huge, right? And he got busted trying to take it into the actual voting booths with other people. Like he was so into the history of it all, or into the teaching. He actually got kicked out of the polling place. I know, because he showed us part of what he was able to film.
Yeah. He's lucky he didn't get arrested.
Yeah. George W. Bush was captain of the cheerleading team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You got to imagine. This is where he learned to spell, R-O-W-D-I-E. That's the way we spell rowdy, rowdy.
That's good. Yeah. As my colleague has outlined, no child will be left behind. Abraham Lincoln is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Wow. He
won 299 out of 300 matches.
Pretty good record.
This is before he started wrestling with Emancipation.
And 4 score.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love this one. Notice the picture behind us. Andrew Jackson taught his parrot to talk. Allegedly, it had to be removed from his funeral service for compulsive swearing. Where's that cracker, motherfucker? Hey, where are we going? Put me down, you piece of shit. Can you imagine? Oh my God. That's great.
So, according to legend, Herbert Hoover wanted his servants to be invisible.
So this is after he was head of the CIA. So the guy, he probably would have had screw loose or
So
whatever.
I guess, when they heard his footfall, they would duck in the closets.
That's what he wanted them to do. Like they would like hide in closets.
I'm sure some of them had hats with like leaves stuck to them so they could just,
Pretend they're part of the wall.
blend in with some potted plants.
That's hysterical. Yeah.
Maybe they painted themselves like the wallpaper so they could just step back.
Right. Franklin Delano Roosevelt called Benito Mussolini admirable and
Wow.
professed that he was deeply impressed with what he had accomplished. I guess there has to be something said for no lack of self-esteem and being a massively huge douchebag, sociopath complex. Yeah.
JFK's dad was asked a recommendation letter for his son to get into Harvard. He wrote that his son was careless and lacks application.
Thanks, Dad. That's great.
He did get it anyway.
You got it anyway, despite the ringing endorsement. Yeah.
John Quincy Adams, Theodore Roosevelt, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, and John F. Kennedy. What do they all have in common?
I don't know what.
They are all members of the Hasty Pudding Club. I'm
hell's
not
that?
making this up. It's a Harvard thing.
Oh, God.
But they are required to make hasty puddings before any meeting. No word if they're into other fast foods.
Last bit of trivia. The word Pennsylvania is spelled wrong on the Liberty Bell. Upon realizing the error, they discovered whiteout did no good whatsoever in the situation. All right, why don't you do another health song? I think they've had enough of historical perspectives.
Back to health. This is from Rat Wars, Children of Sorrow.
Okay, let's talk about imperfect foods.
You know how much we love Imperfect Foods, and they are giving us a new code that will save you $15 off your first order. Don't mess with the grocery store and remembering your reusable bags and standing in line and fighting with self-checkout and all that parking lot stuff. This all gets delivered right to your door, packed in ice, and you can say, tell me, what can I get from Imperfect?
And now we move to the part of the show called What Mark and Stace half ate this week. People leaving comments. They still didn't finish the cheddar.
Hey, you got your produce. You got a lovely bag of tomatoes here. And again, a lot of these products have small imperfections. They would never have seen the light of a supermarket shelf. So you are saving the world as well. Got some lovely green onions here to go with our.
Yeah, some of the tomatoes are way too egotistical. That's why they wouldn't be able to sell them in the store.
We're just two people. I don't want to buy a tremendous tray of wings at the store. They have Imperfect brand wings. They're great for just you and I.
I noticed that when we went to Walmart, if you want to buy wings, you have to buy like 642 in a
I
pack.
don't understand why that is. Just plain old chicken breast. This is mission driven.
The dog's like, why are you handing me frozen meat? Anyway, sorry.
This is just boneless, skinless. This is really, really juicy. I've never been disappointed with the quality of their meats at all. This is something new they had this week for a different kind of snack. So who doesn't like grass-fed beef jerky that also, yeah, it's
garlic.
Woo, yeah, this is everything bagel flavored.
It will blow you away. Yeah, I couldn't eat it all.
Yeah.
And there's only a few pieces in there.
You just want to eat
It's
a little bit
incredibly
at a
strong.
time.
As soon as I opened it up, I was like,
They weren't kidding when they said everything bagel.
everything bagel. Yeah.
Eat stuff for your pantry. They have that too. This is called Odds and End peanut butter. So this was made again by peanuts that wouldn't have made it to the store. So that this is
They couldn't get
pretty-
along in the bags, and they had to. Yeah.
So yeah, this is actually Imperfect also recently partnered with Misfit Markets and became one. So this is a Misfit Market product. Imperfect has their own brand of spices. This is some ground nutmeg. So lots of good stuff. They even have their own brand of Greek yogurt. So I'll use this later to make a smoothie.
Will these tomatoes all be consumed by next week? You'll have to stay tuned and see.
So use our link. It will save you off your first order, and forget that horrible trip to the grocery store.
Don't forget, yours is uglier.
Oh,
Collectorbation time. And as you may have surmised by now, we are going to go with Alice Cooper's Love It to Death from 1971.
Alice Cooper, Love It to Death, 1971. A triumph for the band on many levels. Love It to Death is the fruit of a reboot of sorts. Producer Bob Ezrin tirelessly whip-cracked his new obsession into a tighter, fuller sound, while manager Shep Gordon transformed them from Sid Barrett and Grandma's Nightgown to leather-clad sickos escaped from a lockup, aspirations to become the most hated band of the 70s.
Not that there was a problem with the first two records. I mean, many fans enjoyed them. Okay, select few. Okay, it was just me. Anyway, Ezrin turns up the guitars. Riffs of Bruce and Buxton like the pillars of this thundering designer boot kick to the head. Something like the 9-minute freak out of Black Juju. Isn't too far a cry from the early material. A creeping snake charmer jam from congas and organs. The golden riffing and vocal sass of Is It My Body, which we're going to play for in a minute. The lilting open chords and evocative lyrics of I'm 18. And the theatrical sonics of the Ballad of Dwight Fry, which we're also going to play for you. A brain-sick epic roaring to life in one of rock's greatest arrangements, pianos, bluesy guitar bends, and Alice's straight-jacketed screams. He actually was wearing a straitjacket, supposedly, when he recorded it. Mushrooming endlessly, all key ingredients in this campy rock and roll masterpiece.
The album is solid from front to back. Every song offering at least a minute or two of goosebump-raising guitar solos or iconic choruses. Plus, the more annoying aspects of Ezrin's production hasn't fully blossomed yet, so there aren't choirs of children or lengthy sound effects to wade through in order to get to the good stuff.
Over time, you will realize that very little things you'll hear in life is as good as Love It to Death. So let's play a song. This is It My Body?
Have you got the time to find out who I really am? Whoa.
Okay, enough of our yakking. Before I read this, this is an excerpt from Shep Gordon's book, came out like 2017, 2016, called Supermensch. But before that, I tried to find this online. I can't find it. I had seen an interview with Bob Ezrin years ago about how he came to work with Alice Cooper. Okay, he had never produced any other band before. He went and saw them in New York City, and it was this incredible show. It was like a cult thing. Everybody had black eyeliner. Everybody had black nail polish. It was very theatrical. And he just thought, this band is just going to take over the world. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Very gothy, you know. So supposedly he went to go sign the band at their farmhouse, which was, I forget what state it was. It was like in upstate New York, I think. And he said that when he got there, you know, he walks into one room and there's just like piles of androgynous bodies naked on top of each other in this bed, crashed out. The dishes are piled to the ceiling with bugs crawling all over them. He turned around and there was just someone standing there in a frog suit. And he said, "Hi, is this Alice Cooper Band's house?" And the man said, "Ribbit," and walked away. He went to turn the light on and was holding a cock and balls in his hand that was on the wall. So there's more to the story. I wish I could have found it because it's great. I don't know why. It might have been on Eddie Trunk or something. I can't remember. Anyway, so this is the excerpt from They Call Me Supermensch. They wanted to get, for their big third album, they wanted to get the Guess Who producer, Jack Richardson. But what happened was they ended up with Bob Ezrin. They had a big show in New York, like I mentioned. Bob Ezrin came. We found out later that Richardson had hired him the very day we met him, that he had never produced an album, and that Richardson had sent him to the Nimbus 9 lobby that day saying, "There is no way in the world I'm going to produce this band. They're horrible. Go out there and get rid of them." Instead, he caught a great show at the scene. The hip New York audience loved everything about Alice Cooper, and that the Los Angeles audiences had hated. Bob went back to Toronto, determined to convince Richardson to produce the next album. So that's what happened. He actually came back and he said, "I signed them," and they were like ready to fire him. So that is how Alice Cooper came to work with Bob Ezrin. And this song is called The Ballad of Dwight Fry. Okay, want to introduce the interview?
This is our interview with Johnny from Health. We had a great chat with him. What an amazing guy. He is definitely their lead social media person.
He's kind of like the face of the band.
Yeah. He always puts up really funny stuff on their Instagram page. So you have to check that out, as well as putting out some great music.
Yep. So check this out. This is a great interview. It's like a classic rock trivia thing. This is what we do while we wait for people to log in.
I'll go a few rounds with you guys. I'm a classic rock loving fool.
All right, you want to do a couple? All right, here I'll grab a couple for you here. See what you think.
I had no idea on some of these.
Some of them are really easy and some of them are ridiculously hard. All right, so here's one. Whose 1981 album was titled Standing Hampton?
Damn it. I thought I would ace this. I have no fucking idea. I've never heard of that in my life.
Sammy Hagar.
Oh, the red rocker. I don't know.
Yeah,
Sammy.
yeah.
I don't know who Sammy album is.
Here's a good one. What year did Jimi Hendrix die?
1971.
It's 1970.
Fuck.
I got it wrong too. I said 71 also. Yeah.
No, Morrison is 71 because he was number 3. Was Janis Joplin 69? Jimmy 70, then Morrison 71.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only reason I knew that is I watched that crazy autopsy show where he always does the dramatic glasses reveal on him.
All right, this is a good one. I really impressed myself with this one. I knew all of them, but to see if you know them. All right, so these are all fruit titles. Which bands did Eat a Peach, Under the Cherry Moon, Oranges and Lemons, and Candy Apple Gray?
Isn't wait, Candy Apple Gray? Okay, I'm thinking of no. It has to be classic rock, so it wouldn't be. So it's got to be Allman Brothers Band, right?
That's Eat a Peach, right?
Okay.
Then Under the Cherry Moon.
Under the Cherry. Okay, Candy Apple Gray is Husker Du.
Right.
Under the Cherry Moon. All right, what's the next one?
Oranges and Lemons.
So I don't know those two middle ones.
Under the Cherry Moon's Prince and Oranges and Lemons is XTC.
Two bands. XCC's got one of the coolest album covers of all time, but I did not list either of those bands.
A lot of them I got right just by flipping through racks. You know, like it said, like who was in Hindu Love Gods, and I remember thinking I used to always see that at the record store under the REM rack. So I don't know who the hell they are.
I used to. I'm really dating myself. I used to work at Blockbuster Video, so I have a lot of knowledge of bad movies from like certain time windows because I'd have to stock them. But yeah.
Yeah, if you lost one of those Blockbuster movies, wasn't it like $80 or something? They would ding your
it could be up to 150. I had to make those calls. People were very angry.
For the shitty box, fucked up with no artwork or anything.
I know, kids. It'd be very hard to explain to kids. They'd be like, "What? What? For real?" I was like, "Yep."
And you know what they did to me? They were like, "It's okay. We already debited your credit card. Like,
yeah.
You can have it." And I was like, I don't want it. This copy of New Jack City. I don't want this.
And it's got stickers all over it, and it's all fucked up. Yeah.
Okay, well, appreciate you doing this. This is great. I guess a good place to start is how would you define cum metal?
Well, it's a new term. It's mostly cum metal is mostly to term this, I guess, very popular wave of metalcore bands that are more pop oriented, and they got this like sensuality, and they really appear. They have like a very large female fan bases too.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't say it's all female. It's like I'd say their show. we were just on tour Sleep Token 50/50, which is rare in the metal space. So that's probably the most popular. But just kind of taking the concept and running with it. Expanding the definition. It's not just them. If you want to include us, and you want to include Loathe, and you want to include the pre-cum metal bands or proto-cum metal bands, which would be Deftones and Typo Negative. And then you can start to see, it's just like anything when you define a genre, then you can kind of work backwards and be like, well, actually, in rock history, this happened and this happened. This is kind of like this. So I guess it's just an opportunity to kind of link bands with some level of El Sexo in the rock metal music. We don't have to take this thing too seriously, but it's a great title. and also there's kind of a moment right now with a certain number of these bands getting big, so you might as well name them, right? So call them cum metal. You got to put that on. In the old days, you'd have to put that on Rolling Stone or something. But these kids, like, what am I listening to? It's like, well, you listen to cum metal, kid. Sorry.
I love it. It was great.
Yeah.
So I know it's been, almost 20 years now of Health, but going way back, can you remember what kind of drew everybody together or what vision you originally had for the band?
Well, we just, we obviously love music. I met Jake working Guitar Center even. And I was just I remember coming to them being like, here's my pitch. I want us to play the Smell. I want us to play the Il Corral, get into this really crazy weird DIY scene. I'm like, and I'm listening to these really weird bands from New York. What do you guys think? And they're like, okay. They're like, because they had a Jake and our ex bandmate Jupiter were playing together, but they didn't have a plan of what they're going to do. They're going to play. We didn't have a drummer, and so I kind of pitched them on it, and they were kind of like, all right, let's try this. And then so we did, and we started getting the scene. I remember we went to Che Cafe, and we really just and we kind of made a band to play in those venues, and to really impress everyone in that scene. And that's why the music's so strange, because everyone's playing on floors, and we kind of came up in this venue called the Il Corral, which is mostly like free noise and really avant-garde shenanigans, but a very unintellectual vibe to it. So kids are slamming 40s, getting drunk, playing pop music and rap between free noise, avant, and there's a rope swing in the room, and you just run, grab the rope swing, get drunk, and bounce off the thing and just collide and kick a dude with 2 legs. And that was me. I was kicking the dude or getting my ass knocked off my feet, playing. So because I was the guy to hit because I'm tall. So anyway, it's like it was just a great time, great scene, and it was this real, fucking awesome avant punk scene, and we were happy to be there.
So where did the name originally come from, and was there anything else in the running that you remember?
So we were like, it's really hard to name a band, really hard to name a band, and it's even harder now. There's less names, so we're just like, what's a great band name? Led Zeppelin, 3 syllables. This, and I remember I was suggesting some names that were pretty bad, honestly. I was like, why don't we call ourselves Tokyo Story after the Ozu film? They're like, sounds like Toy Story. Like, how about Cat People, like the fucking what's his name, Paul Schrader? And they're like, dude, that sounds stupid as hell. I was like, yeah, you're right. So then we're like, okay, we're looking at these bands that we liked, the post-punk bands like Magazine. We're like, well, that's a cool name. And so Jake at the time was metal historian. Jake's like, well, think about this, Medicine. We're like, ooh, that's really good. 3 syllables. And then we looked up. There's a great 90s shoegaze band with JMJ was in it called Medicine from the 90s. We're like, fuck, we can't do that. And then Jake's looking at the same medicine bottle and said, Health. He said, how about Health? And I'm like, kind of shitty name, pretty shitty name. And we're like, yeah, it kind of sucks. But if it was all capitals, maybe. And if the band was good, maybe. A lot of band names are actually bad, but when the band's good, and we're like, all right, we'll work that for now. Let's see if we get a better one. That sounds kind of futuristic, Health. And then we never found a better one, and we still don't have a better one. So chose to go, yeah. It's really hard to name a band.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about capitalizing.
It's a bad name. Also, that actually came in handy because right after we started, we found out there's this other band called Health from North Carolina. And they're like, yo, we're also called Health. And both of us had no profile. And we're like, all right, well, here's the thing. We're all capitals Health. You're lowercase Health. And they're like, okay, we'll take that. And then once our first Pitchfork review came out, they folded. They were like, oh, fuck, we're done. But there's a moment of confusion where their album was always in our rack at the indie record store, or every time there was something online about us, they would go, even after the band had broken up for like 4 years, they would keep editing it, being like, well, it was a band from North Carolina who never had any fan base. Or people would be like, yo, I'm at this show and it's terrible. Do you guys change your sound? I'm like, oh, it's not us. So it's fine. They're finally gone. But now there's a new band called Health in Thailand, and they do capitalize it, but it's very different music.
Okay.
Which I enjoy. I wish there's a bit of a language where I'd love to reach out to them. Not to tell them to stop. I would just be like, what's up, guys? We should do a collab or something.
There was a guy that I was friends with. He was in a band. They were really good, like Sabbathy stoner band called Ogre, and they started to build a following. And then the next year, Shrek came out and like destroyed credibility. Yeah. He's like, that fucking movie killed my band.
Well, I mean, there was a great post rock band from LA called ISIS, and I think they had broken up right before, but man, that really screwed up the whole thing.
Yeah, we just don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. It's hard times out there,
Yeah, they said that Anthrax almost broke up during the whole Anthrax in the mail thing. Yeah,
which is just as absurd,
Yeah.
But I guess if your band was called Coronavirus or something,
right?
I do like your merch, like because it has health in big capitals. And it might be like a skull, so it's instantly intriguing. It's
so
like,
that was also part of the first thing we said. We're like, all right, Health, weird name. It has to be all capitals. It's a soft sound. It's not going to sound as good. Health, it's not good. So it has to look stark as possible. It has to look as good as possible, all capitals. And then also we made a rule, no medical imagery. It can't be medical because it's just this goofy thing of like eating your vegetables. So it's got to be something totally different from that. No medical, nothing, stark. And that way it looks futuristic because it's the health of an organism or health of a society or health of a whatever. So it has to have that cool. We almost put periods in between it, like HEA, but then we had nothing for the acronym. And it's because there's this Robert Altman film called Health, and I think and they had a stylization where they put the dots there, and that would look pretty raw. But we just went with Health, all capitals.
Tell you what, I Hate God were great at finding nasty medical photos for their art. They really,
Yeah.
Their albums always had like rotten teeth and crooked spine.
Yeah. A lot of grindcore bands just be like,
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
But you kind of have that secondary moniker of you will love each other. I wasn't sure if it was you will love each other or you will love each other. It depends on what episode
and that's your web URL. What's the story behind that?
It's just sort of like it's it's kind of like the way I was thinking about it. We're just starting the band. We love bands that are really branded with like really similar album artwork or really good merch, and we're just thinking like the Grateful Dead. It's like Grateful Dead isn't just Grateful Dead. It's the Steal Your Face, which is like the greatest logos of all time, but it's also these fucking dancing bears and fuck the dancing bears. It's just like that's also Grateful Dead. So now obviously this is not as good. This is not an image, but we're like, all right, we're Health. Well, Jake let me borrow his vegan propaganda book, Diet for New America, and I was on the shitter reading it, and there's like this weird biblical sounding passage, and the last sentence was it's like, and you will love each other. And it was just really weird and stuck out to me. And so I put it on the merch, and Jake's like, "Oh, that's really good. What is that? What is that?" And it just sounds like this weird ass command. So we just started putting on the merch, and we just kind of thought of it as like it's like the dancing bears. Like if you're a fan of the band, you know what it means. Now,
That sounds good.
I don't know what it means, and it doesn't really roll off the tongue either, but it looks good written down.
I like it. Yeah.
If you put it all in slashy script, it would look really creepy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a command. It's kind of disturbing. It's like positive, but it's weird. It's just kind of off. And that's when reading it. And that also kind of fit into the aesthetic of this, like, futuristic, cold,
it's kind of
post-punk
Swansea.
band.
Kind of Swansea.
Definitely. Yeah. Swans. I mean, Swans definitely an influence on the band. Stuff like that. We have very similar artwork to Swans in terms of the I didn't really realize at the time, but later I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I got it from.
Which I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
so absolutely loving Rat Wars around here. It's that great blend of like new metal, disco, industrial, electronical all together. What bands or artists do you find people comparing to you, and do you agree or disagree with them?
Well, with Rat Wars, we very intentionally like had some references on there to really be like, so much of the band's history we didn't really have a genre, or part of a genre so niche it just had no bigger application. So when we were like this avant noise band, the way we could play to bigger audiences and play festivals, we played the indie rock circuit, and then we've been able to move to we've moved scenes several times. So now in this sort of we've been messaging for the past several years to people who listen to heavy metal and rock, being like, hey, we're part of the club, you let us in. And that's kind of like, so we've, with this album, we're doing our own thing, but we have had a checklist where we're just like 90s industrial here,
Okay.
Nails, blah, blah, blah. It just to have, have a bit of references to, so people can really hear it. So this, unabashedly, we're like industrial record. This is industrial record. We're an industrial band now. Here you go. Look, this even sounds kind of like something, you've heard before.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you guys have been on a few different labels. I mean, from Lorna Vista to Suicide Squeeze, and then Love Pump Limited. Are the smaller labels just for like splits and singles and stuff?
Yeah, Love Pump United was our true label until we went to Loma Vista. So those have been our only two like true labels. We just did a bunch of like random, because we were sort of DIY scene, random 7-inch on some cool boutique or 12-inch or whatever, and stuff you can do when you're an indie band that don't have contracts. And now we have our own imprint, Compulsion Records, just to reissue our old records. But we're not signing anyone because fuck that. It's just a great way to lose money.
Exactly.
So how important to your formula is that the songs are danceable? Because like Hateful, the one featuring Sierra, is definitely a complete hip swisher.
Yeah, I think it's a big idea, especially when you're using program beats. Like you have the technology, you can dance, and so why not? Why not dance, especially if it's a simple beat? So there is not just dance floor element to all of it. You should be able to dance. We want you to dance at the shows.
How did you come to work with Sierra?
I was a big admirer of her from the second I heard it, and really been touting her in all interviews. And when I DJ that's that genre of music, and I play like 4 Sierra songs a night. So I really reached out to her, basically like, we wanted something like that on the record. So, and then she totally came through. And then Jake did a feature on her record too.
Awesome. Yeah, it really comes together well.
One of the things about DJing I remember is there would always be that random dude that was into Tool or Primus, and he would always try to come up to you at the end of the night and try to get you to change because he thought this music was important. And I would have to say, we're doing Dancing Queen right now, and there's a lot of butts out there. So
Yeah.
you go chat somebody up. I'm not putting Tool on and throwing a wet blanket on this. I don't know if you ever
Yeah.
had that, but it always seemed like there's just certain fans that like to
It
screw up
definitely.
the party.
Well, definitely. And the funny thing is, though, it's like I have a USB stick. It's like I can't download the song right now, anyway. But they have a guy where it's like he like writes a message on the phone and he's like showing me a song that would fit in. I'm like, great, I don't have it, or it's like, or I think I was DJing in Vegas though, and a guy wrote on a piece of paper and he says, "Your mixes are very tasteful and your song selection is good." And I was like, "Well, thank you, sir. That was nice of you." So yeah, for the most part, but yeah, obviously a request. Why are you doing a request? It's like I mean, maybe someone's got a laptop and they got it all in there, or if it's like it's gotta be a popular song that would make sense, especially if it's dance floor. Like Tool or Primus is probably not the best choice. Now, however, my buddy DJs, he DJs the funniest shit in the world. I love Tool or Primus, by the way. But he plays new metal, all this stuff, and he just has random left turn switches you can do with the computer, and he just goes into My Name Is Mud all the time. So it's pretty good.
No, I mean, I love those bands too, but there's a time and a place,
Definitely. I mean, I'll tell you what, if I'm trying to meet a date or something, it's probably not
Mhm,
the
mhm.
Primus hamburger train ripping or something.
Yeah, talk about read the room. I was a DJ on my campus radio station for like an all-girl Catholic school, and the
Mhm.
nuns would turn me off in the cafeteria like almost every time I was on. I was like,
Yeah.
win.
Yeah. How was that? How was the Catholic school experience? Did you get beat with the ruler and everything?
It was very quiet. They were very strict. I mean, to have a man come up to your room, they had to ask for you, and they would call up on the PA speaker. Like, if they said you had a visitor, that was your parents. If they said you had a caller, that meant it was a guy of your age, and you better come down there dressed correctly. And if you wanted him to come up, you had to hand in your ID and sign him in, and he had to be out by midnight, or you were like freaking expelled.
Yeah.
Strict.
And the worst part was it was College of Notre Dame of Maryland, which spells condom. Great acronym.
Awesome. That's
Fan-
amazing. That's
Fantastic.
fire.
right.
That's fire.
Somebody didn't think that through. Yeah.
So going back to you guys, what is a zoot horn and how do you use it?
So this is from our early era, our first two albums, especially our first. I mean, we still use them, but they're not as big a deal. It's just this. It's a reference to Captain Beefheart, the zoot horn Rollo. It's like a saxophone. We have this noise thing, so we plug these microphones into our pedal chains, and you'd have all this feedback and weird noises. And then my setup was go farther, where I did the standard noise guy thing of where you run the loop through the mixer, and then you can make more noise, and then I would pitch shift that, and then that's how you get a lot of the strange sounds on our early records. Now we do most of our experimental sounds through the computer.
So you've also done a lot of video game soundtracks for Max Payne and Grand Theft Audio. What was the typical fan reaction when they found out you guys are doing that? Are they excited? Or?
Well, in the beginning, I was like, "What? For real?" That was basically it. Nowadays, most people who get into us are, usually have some knowledge of it, or a lot of times trickle down from it. And it doesn't seem as strange, but especially back then, that seemed pretty crazy. And thinking back, is pretty inspired of Rockstar Games to hit us up, because those records are pretty bananas. I don't even know what they're thinking. It's a very inspired choice, and we can only be grateful they had that choice.
Yeah.
So do they give you a direction, or do you just like write and you go, here you go?
So we were given a pretty good amount of freedom, and it's because we were replacing someone else that it wasn't working with. But we kind of, had this idea where it was like, okay, we just sort of made it like, all right, the standard health chaotic sound, well, that's Brazil outdoors. And then we said that, okay, any flashback level should be referential and reference, other songs from Max Payne in some sort of warped fashion, because it's like his memories. And it's like, and then this, so, we kind of just break it down like that, and then see what works with the footage and sort of work through. And then we had like, kind of ambitious. I'm a big gamer myself, so ambitious things of like, all right, let's have contemplative tones, like you're inside his head, so that you'd be thinking of something else where you're like blowing a guy's head off at like point blank. So it's like this
Wow.
meta thing is like, as a gamer, you're like, oh my god, I'm killing so many people, but also like you're Max Payne, like if you actually were a person who could slow down time when you take perks, and then you've actually killed 10,000 people in your lifetime, what would that be like? Stuff like that. We would just have these kind of artistic ideas to sort of motivate the music, and we were writing.
Really
We
interesting.
have a cat who's a Russian blue, and he's perched in the head a little bit and he chases his own tail. But when he goes to the house, it always looks like he's moving to video game music. We always say he has his own soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, I have an orange cat, and he's very very crazy. I've never had cats before, and so I got him, and they're bananas. Very
Yeah.
different than
We have-
my dog experiences.
We have an orange one too, and I will tell you, orange ones are the weirdest. They can cuddle 1 minute and bite the hell out of you the next. It's like, ah,
Someone told me orange cats are the best, so I just bought an orange cat in a parking lot, and then it was like, "Why is this cat insane?" Like, "Oh, it's an orange cat." It's like, why does everyone say orange cat's the best? Then I don't want to get the insane cat, you know. But I also got another cat just off the street in Koreatown, and this cat's the best cat in the world. It's like a Siamese looking cat. Because I think she really appreciates because she's living on the street, so she's just like, "Oh yeah, you know, live the high life in my house."
what did you
Yeah.
name them?
Henry and Lily. I think all pet names should end in like a Y or an I because you have to say it so much. Like Henry, Lily. You have to keep saying their name all the time, you know.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So for Rat Wars, what inspired the artwork? It looks very different. Almost looks like something under a microscope.
It is something under a microscope. It's a prokaryote bacteria. And it's funny, it was a piece of art I had over 10 years ago. We've done some processing to it, obviously, but it was this, someone had asked for a t-shirt and I made a t-shirt with it. And the funny thing, I was like, this is really cool. It's like, it looks a little too like industrial, like 90s industrial for us to use in our artwork because our artwork's all in the same style. And now at this point, I'm like, wait a second, I got that art. That's perfect for this album. Yeah, so it kind of came full circle where it's like, this looks industrial. This looks perfect, you know?
So I also found that interesting. You broke it out like A and B, like an old school vinyl would be.
Side A, side B.
like
Yeah.
side A, side B.
We always follow the vinyl rules with our records. I just think it's naturally a good way to pace and sequence a record. All our old favorite records work that way, and it stops it from being too long. You hit the 90s and you get the compact disc. Every album is technically a double album, and every album's too fucking long, and every album's 15 goddamn tracks, and gets kind of boring. So it's great. You know, we even put the beat of silence in between the both to make them the two sides. So like you flipping over the record. It's just a really good way. On the LP, it's like 45 minutes is kind of the max. You can stretch it a little bit, but that's about it. So it's nice to have two sequenced halves. You know, it's just
We're seeing that more and more. A lot of the newer bands, like especially the metal bands, they're in that 39, 40-minute range, which that's enough. You know, I mean, it's cut out the fat. You know?
It's attention span, and I do really like to be able to put on an album and you just listen to the whole album and you finish it. Now, obviously, in the streaming era, that's the most antithetical thing in the world, but it's just good to follow rules. And we know our fans are probably not going to listen to it in sequence, but we just said fuck it. You know, we like making albums.
Does the name have something to do with that bacterium?
No. It's just all this stuff. You know, you're not supposed to know it's bacteria. People are like, oh, it's rat tails. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, sure. But it's all about feeling, the Rat Wars and this black cover and like looking like this is, you just really communicate what our records sound like. And it's like, oh, this like a grim dark sort of futuristic dark, thing,
Yeah, I read an interview with you where you talked about how your music was like for post Skynet,
yeah.
world. I mean, so what do you think of like all the AI stuff that's coming around now with the artwork and the music and stuff?
So, well, funny thing, our music was always sort of this dystopian, future music, and the times have caught up to the music. So now we're just current music for the times. But shit's gonna get really weird. Election year, the internet could just who knows? There's so many predictions. Like the internet could just come unusable with the amount of deep fakes and bots. And I'm a huge fan of the whole dead internet theory. Even though it's a little far fetched, there's some truth to it. Where like so much of the internet, I think supposedly 70% of the internet is just all bots reacting to each other. Just going on social media, you can just see there's just fake campaigns. And I had a friend who worked for Reddit. We're like, oh, dude, we subliminally market all this bullshit to you, like that you don't see coming because it'll be over 3 months. Like tease the abstracting of an idea. So by the time it shows up being marketed to you, it seems like an original thought you had in your head. You're like, oh, I was really thinking about X concept, and so obviously it's pretty insidious. In terms of AI and music, I'm trying to use all these new tools that are using advanced algorithms to do new shit with plugins. We're always trying to find new stuff. In terms of AI generating music, obviously I was pretty scared about that. The only funny thing is like we have the technology now to have music made for you. It's called Splice. Just go get we've had sample packs for forever, and they're amazing, and they're royalty free, and they're really good, and a human made them, and you can just pick and choose. And using trillions of servers to generate something like that you can't pull apart isn't really better, and you'd still own this. Obviously, yes. You can see a future where there's just millions of AI generated terrible songs by Frank Sinatra. That sucks. There's a lot of things that are potentially possible that are terrible. So just I don't know. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you that the kids are gonna find a way. If you could just generate shit on a whim, it'll just you'll just end up valuing something different. The kids are always gravitating towards whatever. Like some new kid will find a way to get into whatever whatever thing that'll make it cool, and that'll be the correct answer.
Might swing back the other way to like quill pins and shit. You never know.
Fuck, who the fuck knows? But I am actually kind of tickled by the thought of people predicted the AI might just make the internet completely unusable and social media completely worthless, which would be fucking kind of amazing. And it'd just be like, this shit sucks. It's like, here's my zine. You want to go to my show down the street? Because I can't use the internet. It's fucking just only bots.
Exactly.
It's just scams all day. So it's like it's kind of that thought really tickles me. So who knows?
For your like the little tracks and parentheses, I found that I was trying to figure out your formula because the first one of all else, it kind of sounded like mostly instrumental with like kind of just vocals in the back, and I'm like, that's what it must mean. But then by the time I got to it being born, I'm like, no, I'm completely wrong.
No, so basically it's hateful of all else. It's like one sentence, and it's like you just chop them in half, so it's not like a crazy 8-minute long song, and they're technically two songs sort of, but they're kind of like extended outros, and that's the same thing with the Ashamed of Being Born, and then they're on each side. It's kind of like a little concept album-y kind of thing. But yeah, just naming the instrumental, and then it's all one sentence because they're a direct continuation of the song before it.
I like it. What is that chug? On the first one of all else, it almost sounds mechanical. Do you use like found sound, like
Yeah, there's a lot of samples in there, and then there's also there are mechanical songs, but they also like that guitar chug. It's like it is a real one, but it's like it's total loops, which is it's like it's very unnatural.
It reminded me of like a shoe and a dryer.
Yeah. There's a lot of samples in there, a lot of machinery and found sound or just whatever stuff.
I like your promotions. The sweepstakes to win a trip to Six Flags and the poster sign in blood and a member of band's hair. I mean, who comes up with this shit? I mean,
we come up with ideas. I mean, they really amuse us. We're like, fuck it, why not? And so that was for our second album, Get Color. We tried to keep that going with our record label, but it's starting getting more complicated, and it's just send I don't know, hair in the mail and stuff. So we kind of kept it to more shenanigans online, or like you can call me. We give out my phone number, and we do a lot of stuff other bands don't have the time to do or won't do. So that's funny to us. Right.
It is cool. You joined the health.
I did.
Hotline,
I joined the hotline. It was kind of weird. All of a sudden, it was like, "You're in my phone now."
Yeah. That's a new one. So we've run a different hotline for years, but it just went to my phone, and there's no way to use it. We signed up for this thing where we can actually have one where I can we can send a text to everyone if we need to. We can geotag stuff like that. Just like so, it's useful. Also, as more and more social media gets less and less useful as they keep ruining it, it's just really important to be off platform. And there's nothing better than just getting a text. The old school email newsletter is decent, but it might be hit by a spam filter too. So we just want to be able to reach the fans, because it's really hard to reach your own fans. Like you post on social media and it's like your own fans don't even see it. It just goes into this like lottery now because it's trying to copy TikTok, and it's like makes it totally useless for what it's for. I mean, if it's used for promotion, there's no point in using it,
We started doing a regular feature on the show plugging how great Bandcamp is because they don't gatekeep anything.
Yeah.
And then they got bought right after that. So I don't know what's going to happen now.
No, it's so far Bandcamp hasn't changed. They got bought twice, actually. They got bought by Epic Games, which I thought was interesting, and then they got bought again. So I think they got bought again. And so I don't know. So far it seems to work basically the same. Bandcamp is great, and I love the culture of Bandcamp that people are just down to be buying digital albums from bands all the time,
Yeah. Hopefully they'll continue to nobody will fuck with it,
Yeah. It seems like it's still going.
Yeah, I think, Rat Wars is kind of your heaviest work to date. It's so much more metal and industrial metal. It's like that crazy guitar on Crack Metal, or the opening riff in Children of Sorrow. Was this a conscious shift or just kind of a natural evolution?
No, it's very conscious. I mean, like, listen, we can't play it. Like, that's Willie from Lamb of God playing that guitar. So I had to make a phone call to get that guitar. So it's very unnatural. We can't even play metal guitar, really. I mean, like, so this is all very, very, it was a thing too with Volume 4, which is the previous record. we always felt their music was like it was really being appreciated by people in the heavy metal space, but no one there really understood, and none of the press understood. So like I was like, we need to make this clear. It's like we've avoided having heavy metal guitars. It's like we're gonna need them now. So Volume 4 is all samples, and then this one I actually had people play them. You know.
Who were your favorite heavy metal bands that kind of had new stuff coming out last year?
Last year, I have my playlist on Spotify where I put my top 40 of the year. But in terms of current bands, I'm trying to think what I like. I like the Frozen Soul. It's I really like this. That they put an album last year. You know, it's like they sound like Bolt Thrower basically, but everything is cold theme, which is kind of funny. Um, I like King Yosef, who we have on tour with us. We're taking on tour. I thought the Three Teeth album was really good industrial, especially the tracks with Mick
That was
Gordon.
Mick Gordon, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Mick? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not all the tracks. The tracks with Mick Gordon, I think, are really really good. Yeah. She was listening to the sampling of a lot of heavy stuff. Trying to think of the stuff that like really stuck with me. I am enjoying this crazy shit out of Japan. It's just really bananas. Like this Hanabi, and there's this other band, like they're called like Venom something. It's really insano Japanese metalcore. And then I like Fugitive. I've always loved the Power Trip guys, and their new project's pretty good too.
Oh, yeah.
And I like this really weird stuff. There's this Cybergrind stuff, this Blind Equation and Callous Cowboys. It just kind of takes me back to being young when we were in the DIY scene. You just have these really bananas, really obtuse and strange bands, you know, they're all wacky like that and kind of funny.
Yeah.
On this album, I really like DSMV. I love the whole idea about, you know, your sins dragging you down and your regrets dragging you down. Was it inspired by something that happened in real life, or a film, or a book, or?
So Jake writes all the lyrics, and these lyrics are pretty personal, but I don't really ask him. I mean, certain things I can read, I'm like, oh, I know what that's about. But so yeah, I don't really ask him. The only time I interject if it's like there's like a line I don't like, or I'm like, oh, you should do something like that. Like would be better if it was different sort of vowel sound. But that's really Jake's territory. But it's also very just on brand for the band. It's the kind of, you know, lyrics and fit into the whole concept of the record. You know.
Do you know what the letters stand for?
So DSM-5 is the book of mental illnesses, and that's just kind of that's just very much for our fans. It's just something kind of like something that they would really respond to, and that they did. It's just some memes have been going around the DSM-5, and it just looks hard as hell. Obviously, it doesn't really have a ton, like it's not like directly in the lyrics, like no one says it or anything.
I like it. So you did a couple videos. The videos for Demigods was all Yuri's revenge footage?
Basically, just and it's not even in sync. It's just the AMV. It's just all the AMVs from all the Red Alert games in a row. I didn't do that. We have a guy behind the scenes, Joe McKinney, who we give the title creative director, but I work in tandem with him. We do all the artwork and all the online promotion and all kind of the sillier stuff that's non-musical together. And he last minute he's like, dude, what if I put this with Command and Conquer footage? I'm like, doesn't that seem like a boomer ass reference that's super old? He's like, I think people get it. And so he did, and people were like, oh, this is amazing. Fucking Yuri's Revenge, dude.
That's great.
When I was first watching it, I was like, wait, was this an old movie I saw? I was like trying to figure it out. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so dumb.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's also just the sort of thing. I think what Joe was hearing, it's just the song kind of sounds like Command and Conquer. And there's a funny thing. We were working with the producer once, and he's like, John, I wish I could hear what's in your head and you're describing this music to me we're trying to make. Then he was like, wait a second, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And he just put on the Command and Conquer Red Alert song. And I'm like, damn. Song has been burned into my head ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I love that shit. So there's this weird moments that are kind of like the Command and Conquer, you know, the whatever that guy's name is who did the music. It's kind of funny to me. So yeah, people really resonated with that.
Yeah, I love that. Demigods is one of those. It seems like you throw every genre you've ever done in there. It's
a concept album. It's like a mission statement. It's sort of like it's showing you a preview of all the songs you're going to hear through the course of the album in one song. And then it's like, okay, now we'll take the journey. And we did that in the previous album too with the Psychonauts. Sort of like, all right, here's the tonal palette of the whole record. Now we're going to go song by song, you know? It's like setting the stage. It's like a play. Someone comes out and dances. You know?
I also really enjoyed the video you did of Ashamed of Being Born at I guess it was like a sci-fi convention.
So it's at two conventions. It's at Anime Expo in LA and Dragon Con in Atlanta. So we filmed for both. It was supposed to just be Anime Expo originally, but I forgot. I didn't buy tickets. I fucked up and it sold out. Anime is just so much more popular now. But someone was able to get me in, so we just filmed a set there. But we didn't like. But last minute we bought tickets to Dragon Con. I've been to Dragon Con, but just like after a show for 2 seconds. I've always wanted to go back. And Dragon Con is now my favorite con in the world. It's Southern, and it's all formats, and it's party first, con second, and it's just in hotels instead of a convention center. And it's the South, so they don't give a fuck. It's like at the end of every row, there's just a bar. Like they just want you to get fucked up, and they go until 6, 7 a.m. It's like it's this nerd. I don't know. It's like the biggest Halloween party in the world. And there's unlike LA, there's all these like, streamers and famous people and like cosplay models, and everyone's all sexy. Everyone DragCon's just like real nerds. No one's famous, just there to get fucking obliterated. And everyone's mostly ugly. It's great. It's like it's a real shit. I love DragonCon.
Yeah.
Were you dressed as somebody specific?
Yeah, I'm Asuka from here. Actually, I got it right here. I'm Asuka from Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's kind of a tie-in with we have a whole meme language with our fans, and Felis Jueves is Thursday, and she says, well, not really, but it's Felis Jueves is Asuka, so I'm dressed like Asuka. It's all kind of like a band lore callback stuff,
Yeah, I like how you kind of got the real feel of being in a crowd and yet feeling completely alone. You did a great job. Was that your concept to come up with that?
So my original concept of the video, I was like, guys, this is ambitious. We got to do a video at a con, and we can kind of have the story. And then it was really ambitious. I'm like, it's going to be 3 storylines, and I'm going to be walking around the con, and then what's that called? Beej is going to call me, and he's going to give me a task. It's a video game. We'll film me from this game camera, and then Jake will be singing at the con, and thinking it's like, and he'll be walking. There's this whole thing, the story, and I was going to have this like romance with a VTuber. Just really, really ambitious. And we were shooting all this footage, and we shot all these different storylines and stuff with the intention of editing them in, because only I was going to go to Atlanta with the cameraman. And Jake was watching the footage, and he was like, "Dude, this is really powerful." He's like, "Don't put us in there. Just keep like this short film. It's I think it means more that telling the emotions that we're seeing here." And so then we just kept editing along. We did this like intentionally. We did this like kind of Wong Kar-wai thing, where it's like there's no script. You just kind of like you got these ideas you're filming, and that's why we copied his slow shutter, and we're just shooting and jump cutting, and so you create the story that way. So what we did is we got rid of the other things, and then that became the focus of sort of telling the story and using the footage in certain ways. Because there's when I'm on the phone, we cut out me talking on the phone. It's like that I'm listening, and so it's more like a relationship thing. Because before it was Beej telling me, and I was arguing with him to like collect like some item. So you just change you changed over. So that's the idea with the video being alone in a crowd. The isolation, being unable to relate, and it was inspired by actually being at the con, because I saw like this girl come out of the bathroom, amazing cosplay, just dressed to the nines, and you could tell she came alone and she didn't have friends there, and there was this look of despondency. It's like everything you love, and you're there, and you don't know if you could just. I see this at nerds, and I can relate. It's like you just talk to someone, or someone think you could have the greatest time of your life tonight, but you're too scared, and you're not going to, and they're not going to talk to you, and you're just wandering here, and you're going to be here for 7 days, and you have this perfect costume, and it's like everything's here. Oh, that's also another thing. Not to sidetrack. This is what I fucking found just bananas about Dragon Con, because everyone there's such heatedness, because the girls have so much power. I saw this nonstop just polyamorous relationships with like just this one girl with like her harem of 8 people, guys and girls, or like I was on the dance floor and I just saw like girls making out with guys while their boyfriend's holding them around the waist. Just watching, it was like, whatever you would like, honey. I was just like, man, this is amazing. This is a trip.
Yeah.
I'm going back. I just want the band to play there at this year's Dragon Con. I'm emailing them right now. I fucking love Dragon Con.
That's cool.
I've never been. It sounds
You could just
amazing.
fucking roll up with the fucking cooler and booze and buy no booze. You can just walk in there with the 12-pack and just drink it in the lobby. No one gives a fuck. It is so tight. And then you can get the hotel room there and just go rage in your hotel room. It's just so tight.
Cool. That's cool. Well, now that you've crossed into metal land, you'll find that our joke is always that the metal fans are a lot more loyal. That
Absolutely.
yeah, the kids that were into Franz Ferdinand 10 years ago are all driving minivans now, and they don't even know what's out anymore. Whereas the metal guys, they can't wait for that next, a Godflesh album. They're ready. So,
Definitely, yeah, lifers, and we did that. That's
Lifers,
also
yep.
a big reason, because like we're not going anywhere, and that was the thing
Yeah.
too. We've been in the, we played Coachella twice. We've been in the Pitchfork system, like very fickle audience, very fickle audience. We had Death Magic, we had the biggest tour of our life, and then the follow up, secondary market, whatever tour. It's like I was like, whoa, like people are gone. It's like that was just a year ago. Like it's like very fickle audience. Metal it's incredible. Like people are here for you. They want that fucking t-shirt.
Yep.
They're your
Mhm.
fan. They really want to support you and really want you to win. So it's pretty amazing. I was also inspired by a lot of I went to a lot of independent wrestling shows, and like the amount of people liking the wrestler so much, just like throwing money, and they're just like they want this guy to succeed, and it's a really beautiful thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, the big Coachella announcement this year is No Doubt is getting back together.
Yeah, I know.
And so is Sublime, although it's just the other guys in
It's
the band.
the Son of Sublime. They should call it Son of
Yeah.
Sublime. That should be tight. Or the
Get your
Fall of
tickets
Rome.
now.
The Son of
Yeah.
Sublime, Fall of Rome. But yeah, I just this year though, Coachella, like it didn't sell out. I think the reason usually, for the past several years it would sell out immediately. And I think a bigger reason is it's just really expensive for the kids. All the Zoomers are just like, this is fucked. Like to get a hotel, it's just so much money. I've been to like fucking 10 Coachellas. And we've played twice. But yeah, I think it was a few years ago to Coachella, and I'm like, this festival's different. It's not for me anymore. I've aged out,
Yeah, it's totally like, but with they have, we have a couple extreme metal shows in Baltimore, and they always sell out. Because I said to him for Hell in the Harbor, I'm like, we got to get this now. we're gonna miss it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. That's nothing better, People going to shows. Also for kids, a lot of these kids, we try to speak to with their music. It's like very online, and they're very lonely. And it's like the finest things in life are very simple. Just go to the show, have a beer. Maybe you'll date someone. I mean, like it's really simple. Like there's not a whole lot to life, It's just that, and eat a delicious meal too. That's about it.
Ask the DJ to play a Tool song. I mean,
That's it. That's a cheap thrill. Fuck it, do it. Annoy that guy. Bug the DJ. Just talk to someone. Touch grass. Go outside.
Absolutely.
Just make you feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we play a game on this show. It's called 5 Random Questions with Stace, which is me.
Mhm.
So I have 100 questions in front of me. So I want you to pick 5 numbers between 1 and 100.
Okay, so I have a D20 here, and I'm gonna roll. How would I do this? How would I do? Oh, no, so if I had 2 D10s, I could do D100, but I don't want to run. I'm not wearing pants, so I'm not gonna run and get to D. How would you do a D? I'm gonna look this up real quick. How would you do a D100 to 1 D20?
That's funny. My daughter brought me back a kimono from Bali. She was just there. And he came down the other night in it. I was like, okay, fine.
It was a kind of a Roxy Music situation. Yeah. So.
Okay. Oh, this is giving a percentage though. That's not gonna work. All right, how about this? I'll just go. This will be 1 through 20, and then I'll go 20 through 40. That's how I'll do it. Okay, so this is for 1 through 20. 13. This is for 20 through 40. So I'll add 20 to whatever number. So 36. 51. 71. And 98. Is that enough?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
cool.
right. Number 13. What is the worst job that you ever had?
I don't have that much of an employment history, so I don't really have that many like bad jobs. Oh, Guitar Center. Guitar Center is the worst job I ever had. Yeah, when I was Guitar Center, no question.
I was gonna say you said Blockbuster. That can't have been that great. I mean,
I guess what's worse, Guitar Center or Blockbuster? I guess more interesting things happen at Guitar Center, but yeah, I think Guitar Center is worse than Blockbuster. Yeah, Guitar Center, they had this weird shit where they're like pounding you to like, for your sales, and they're trying to do this like weird sales things and like trying to play on musicians' dreams, being like, you're part of the music industry. It's like, no, you're not. You're in the retail industry. This has got nothing to do with making it in a band. It's like, this is between you and God. If you can't sell this guitar, it's like, this is totally unrelated to the skill set of making music that people listen to. This is stupid. But it's kind of crazy there. Obviously, I had some, some interesting times there, but Blockbuster, at least they're just like, hey, this job's stupid. You get minimum wage, stock these tapes. That's it.
yeah. Those places like Guitar Center in Sweetwater, they make money whether our band sucks or not. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I mean, they're on the right side of the money, really. So if the guitar gathers dust after you buy it, they don't give a shit.
And that's the thing with Guitar Center is hilarious because you make minimum wage, but you have to sell so much that you out earn your minimum wage. So you're just busting ass to get over minimum wage, and they're like,
Wow.
don't clock in too much. You're eating up your commission. It's like, what kind of fucking stupid mind game is that? Really? Not to get paid? Also, the taxes are high on commission. You fucking pieces of shit. Like it was such a Machiavellian nightmare there. They're just playing. Musicians are stupid, and then also they're filled with hope. They're like, I want to be in a rock band. It's like, well, sell 200 packs of strings. You'll get there, bud.
I know when my son was first starting to play, when I walked in, I must have had this like pheromone, like, she doesn't know what she's doing. Let's sell her everything.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta move the product. That's it's yeah. I don't go to Guitar Center anymore.
All right. Number 36. What is your favorite sitcom?
Oh, The Simpsons. Does that count? Is that unfair?
Yes.
Oh,
It is
hell yeah.
technically a sitcom, and it's the greatest.
Mm.
If that doesn't count, if I have to choose a multi-camera sitcom with a laugh track, I would say Seinfeld. Then obviously.
Love The Simpsons.
Yeah.
God, they got so many
I
good.
can't believe they're on the Disney Channel too. That seems weird.
Simpsons on Disney
Really
Channel. Oh yeah,
embrace Disney's values.
they bought Fox. They bought Fox.
Yeah.
All right. Number 51. An item you would definitely have to have on a desert island.
Well, I think I do think about this from time to time, and because I'll have those survival shows. I suppose a machete or a fire starter. No, or a pot. Having the pot is so important because you can boil the water and you survive. Water's kind of the most important thing. Fuck, do I have to choose a pot? I think I'd have to choose a pot so I could boil the water because I don't know. Who knows where I'm on if I can't even make a pot and you have to drink water. Well, this is the stream or some shit. I guess I'd have to choose a pot. Not super exciting. I could definitely make a fire eventually, hopefully. Machete would be really nice, obviously. But
I always thought I'd have to have hot sauce because if you found bugs to eat, at least you could put hot sauce on
that
them.
would be amazing. If you just had some salt.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't mind bugs. In Mexico City, I like to think there's a zone in Mexico City you can just eat bugs and weird shit and tarantulas, and it's actually quite good. I like it.
Yeah.
Kind of crunchy.
We have cannibalism discussions at my office pretty regularly, and
So
one of the things that we often ponder is if we had to resort to it, would we eat the biggest, fattest guy or the chatty, annoying guy? Because then you're killing two birds with one stone. Sort of.
well, for taste, you want to eat the fattest guy. So apparently, this is the case. You actually want to eat the ass because it's very fatty.
Gotcha.
But I'm making pozole upstairs. The ancient Mexicans, like I think the Aztecs or something, pozole is like a holy thing, and you make it with human flesh. And then when the Spaniards came, the Christians are like, dude, you can't eat humans. You can't do it. They're like, well, the fuck we can do with the pozole? And they're like, I don't know, try a different meat, try pork. And they ate it with pork. And they're like, oh, it tastes the same.
Wow.
So apparently
Wow.
humans and pork really taste the same. Like, we don't have
That's
to kill the people.
interesting.
Obviously, they would have killed the people anyway. But sacrifice is important to the religion. But people have said this before. We're really similar to pigs, and that's they can do the pig heart stuff. And if you eat an Eichbein in Germany, it's just a man's shoulder. It looks like a human shoulder, and that's probably why pork is forbidden in a lot of the religions because it's like you're eating a person. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna eat a person, it's probably not that gross. Like you could probably slow cook a man's ass in chile verde and it'd be delicious.
Probably.
We just got done watching the show, The Horror of Dolores Roach. It's kind of like a modern day Sweeney Todd. And this girl just got out of prison and she's like giving massages in the basement of like this guy she knows who makes empanadas, and she kills this person who's kind of a threat. So they just put him in the empanadas.
Right. The whole neighborhood's eating the guy. Yeah.
Damn, what do you do with all the bones?
Yeah, exactly.
I was cracking up. All right. So 71. What is your hometown famous for?
I'm from San Diego. What is San Diego famous for? I mean, good weather. San Diego Comic-Con. Little known fact, San Diego invented the California burrito.
Wow.
And they invented carne asada fries. I love San Diego Mexican food. It's a very different style. It's less authentic, even though it's right next to the border. Coronado, the Coronado Bridge.
Okay.
Balboa Park. That's San Diego. Nice beaches. La Jolla.
My brother lived there for a few years, right? And then one year
Yeah.
for my birthday, he gave me a CD, and he's like, "This is just like some local band." It was Drive Like Jehu, Yank Crime, and I was like, "This album is fucking amazing." He's like, "They're local, whatever." I stole it.
One of my earliest shows, we saw Hot Snakes.
Yeah, Hot Snakes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think I had a band in high school, and the show we played had like one member of Drive Like J who had like a different band, like playing the thing with that. So yeah, San Diego stuff.
Yeah.
All right. 94. Have you ever heard a rumor about yourself that was not true?
I'm sure. I definitely. Trying to think of one though. As boring though from San Francisco. I totally forgot. I mean, I know this has definitely happened. I'm just like, I just can't think of a juicy one or something.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just saying, I'm sure there was one. Sorry, I can't think of one. Everyone has a rumor about themselves that's not true.
Oh yes.
Oh, actually, this is one my buddy started on purpose. The rumors that I'm 5'10". I'm 6'4". But he's really trying to just push this narrative that I'm 5'10". So everyone's like, "Oh, John's not really that tall. He's 5'10".
What's
He's
the
lying."
what's the motivation? Why does he want to make you shorter? I don't get
It's
it.
just funny. It's like, also in LA, it's just like thing online. Everyone's so obsessed with height these days. I don't know why. And like girls in LA are super obsessed with height. Like they won't even talk to you if you're not over 6 foot. So it's like, it's a joke that, oh, John's not really 6 foot. It's like, I'm 6'4". God damn it.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
so yeah, but that's like, it's an intentional rumor. Joe and everyone's been trying to push that I'm 5'10", which is kind of funny to me.
We interviewed Gene Hoglan years ago or last year, and I didn't realize that all the guys in Testament when he was in the band were all like over 6 feet tall. They were like the tallest thrash band ever. I had no idea of this. Yeah.
It's
I
more
went and looked it up
opposing.
afterwards. Yeah.
Rick James entire band, everyone's over 6 foot.
Really?
Wow.
See, I didn't know that.
That's why when Prince came out, they're like, this tiny motherfucker. Everyone in our band's over 6 foot. Like we're like the
Right.
most badass, funkiest, best looking guys around,
Yeah, yeah. His feet didn't touch the ground on the motorcycle. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
Yeah, that rumor goes around and you're going to set up and your mic's way down here and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Exactly.
So you definitely, like we were saying, have some different merch. What inspired the slogan "Sad music for horny people"?
So we're very in tune with the fans, and I'm on our fan Discord every day talking to people. So and it's really important to me. I used to always work the merchandise too, just talk to fans. It's like, so we kind of run like a focus group, and this is really dorky, but I'm a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons, and it's sort of like you make the game together. Even if you have the story, it's like you're really responding to what your players like, and you kind of tailor the story to them, for what their interests are. So that's been this going this whole time. That's also what made us move into the metal spaces, is just talking to the fans who actually really cared about the band, who were there. They were all people from the metal world, just like getting into the band and being there, the most passionate. So just like sad music for horny people is just incredibly on brand for our fans. I'm like, oh, they're gonna love this. And the second we did it, was just like shirts flying out the door, and they're like, yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's me. And it's like, I know, because I talk to you every day.
Reminded me of one of my other favorites, Static X. I love their shirts. It's "Keep Disco Evil."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, also the thing was, we were on tour with Youth Code, and she was wearing that Morbid Angel shirt that says "Extreme Music for Extreme People," and I'm like, damn, that's good. What could we do? What could we do? I don't know what we do. And then it's tied people like, sad music for horny people. Also, the Cramps is bad music for bad people.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
But ours, it's like you change the word, but to me, that's even funnier. It's the music's not horny. It's sad music for horny people. It really, really cracks me up. And yeah, people loved it immediately.
Yeah, I used to have a website. We were supposed to, years ago, interview Lex Interior like 2 weeks before he died.
Oh,
And
that sucks.
we were so shocked because he was always in such good shape. And like
Yeah.
they were both like models. And then all of a sudden it was just like nobody saw it coming,
Yeah. It was cancer, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And you're also one of the few bands I've seen with butt plugs.
Yes.
That's right.
Also, that's the thing where it's like you respond to the fans. You're like, the whole sad music thing. I'll tell you one thing. Our fans they're like a coalition from people from metal or goth, or like they're all from different areas, and they kind of come to our tent. But one thing they got in common is most of all of them are kind of sexual deviants or got some level of something going on. So it's just like thing with Sammy's horny people that I'm like, the butt plugs they're gonna go off. And but it was an April Fool's joke though. It's like a lot of this stuff. It's like April Fool's, haha, butt plug. It was like, give me that fucking butt plug. Like no one even gets the joke. We're like, all right, shit, we got to make them.
I want 2 dozen stat, right?
Yeah. So we've been selling a lot. This next tour, we're gonna have butt plugs with tails on them. So we're gonna just keep it going. The people love gimmick merch, and who am I to resist?
Right.
Yeah, I love it. I think that would make a really good shelf talker. I really do.
Yeah.
I love it when it's the married couple and the wife is always like, honey, and the guy's like, ooh, I don't know, dear.
So you have a big North American tour coming up in spring.
Yep.
Pixel Grip King Yusuf I saw you're already sold out in Toronto and Seattle. Is there anywhere that you're specifically looking forward to playing, or somewhere you haven't played before?
No, we played everywhere here. A lot of these venues, sort of a lot of them we haven't played. Obviously, they're ambitious venues, so we're excited. I mean, like Brooklyn Steel is one of my favorite venues in the country. We're super excited. That's a big show. I mean, we're pretty pumped. I think Seattle, just like all the places where tickets are just really moving. We're really excited to see, like, because historically, Seattle wouldn't outsell LA or New York, and like that's really what's happening now. And Toronto's way ahead. Toronto's already sold out like really early, so I'm like, well, this is fucking exciting. I'm like, what's going on in Toronto? Like, I'm really curious. Like, what's different? So yeah, we're really excited to do this tour. I mean, it's always fun to your own tour, and the album Simon on the Ground's great. But for anyone listening, get your tickets now because they are accelerating. And Portland, we upped the capacity and they're right about to sell out. So
You could add Baltimore in there.
so here's the thing. So we did Baltimore, and then we did DC like basically in the same year. And DC was like seemed like came back too soon, kind of took a hit, and so we're like, we can't just do it again. It's like let's just do Richmond. So we're doing Richmond,
Yeah.
And then also you have the Full Force Fest coming up in Germany.
Mhm.
Are German fans a little more intense than American?
No,
No.
they're nice though. I do love the Germans, but no, they are not. Cologne, they're the best. Cologne's a good rock and roll town, but Europeans, for the most part, are more chill than Americans.
Okay.
in terms of shows. Obviously, that's not, of course, across the board. And you go to some extreme metal show, obviously people are gonna cut loose, but like definitely for the most part, and we just did these. The U.S. shows are way, way, way more buck.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, we definitely wish you all the luck in the world. You have two big fans here.
Absolutely. Yep.
Even if
Thank
we
you.
got to come to Richmond.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
fine.
sorry about that, but come say
Hey.
hi. I'll be around. I'll be hanging.
Okay.
Awesome.
Falling on deaf ears.
This is Deaf Ears 1, Side, Come Alive Dying. Germany is certainly no stranger to great metal bands. Legends like Rammstein, Oomp, Such, and Emo Bulls jump to mind. However, for the new metal genre, I could not think of a German standout. As a new metal aficionado, I have no idea how my radar missed these guys until now. This is the 8th full length for this 4-piece out of Munich since putting out their 2005 demo.
Is it Munich, South Dakota?
No,
Oh.
it is not. High-powered drums, masterful guitar, and even solos with gothic overtones, checking off all my boxes immediately. Just look at that album art with that black shriveled corpse head on the cover with the razor-sharp teeth and a gold crown. Yeah, you have my full attention.
The opening track, Come Alive Dying, immediately had me raising a delighted eyebrow, musing, and what do we have here? It starts with a downright spooky discordant synth tone right before the finely crafted crisp drums of Johannes Hani Jurg blast in with reverb like the music is bouncing off the walls of a medieval cathedral. The melodic and technically intricate guitar of Michael Kingenberg settles over the powerful chug as the measures spill out. The effect is shimmery and colossal. The vocals of Daniel Kuhlman shift from the bright baritone to a gruff, fang-bearing yelp. Sing me a sweet plastic lullaby. The breakdown on this one, with riffs upon riffs over the groovy dark bass line of Johannes Hulscher and the drums pulse, it's a damn near danceable. It may be a Wednesday Addams dance, but you get the idea.
Shadow to Shine is another favorite full of urgency and energy like effervescent dark bubbles. The drums are relentless, upping my stress levels, while the guitar offers a razor-thin melodic line that comes to smooth my angst back out. Thus, The Bereaved has shorter, quieter moments of soft, melancholy guitar that are inevitably taken over by the power moments that punch in and out. The vocal breakdown sets up the final punch perfectly. I think if I had to pick a favorite, which is tough, there are no shrinking violets to be had in these 12 tracks, it would have to be Impending Doom. This one features some guest vocals from John Henry of Darkest Hour. The guitar in this one is so crunchy, it feels like the sand from the video got into the recording. The bass caresses the aggressive drums. The layering of those two vocal stylings is really effective in creating the opposing light and dark in a yin and yang coupling. There is also a ghostly locust-sounding Sith line chirping over the top. The guitar solo is short, but hits every mark. The gang chorus at the end really sticks the landing. The cure to save us. We are dying to know. This is our impending doom.
Fans of In Flames, Parkway Drive, or Drowning Pool should be running, not walking over to Tenside. They really have the perfect mix of rage, melody, and solid technical performances by all. No longer the underdog, they have crafted their own distinctive brand. So this song is Impending Doom. Deaf Ears 2 is the debut from Dogma. Life is complicated sometimes, and it's important to acknowledge when we get a lucky break. The $5 bill that tumbles out of the dryer. Showing up late to work and finding out your boss is later than you. Getting an Amazon refund on a lost order and having it show up the next day. I think that I have them all beat, however. A metal album that drops in my lap from 4 anonymous vixens dressed as sexy nuns with titles like Carnal Liberation. Not sure what I did to deserve something so wicked and salacious, but I guess it's my cross to bear. I'm just getting started. Dogma are Lilith on vocals, Lamina on guitar, Nyx on bass, and the voluptuous Abrahel on drums. And this highly enjoyable platter of 11 cuts spans 45 minutes. It packs in sinful amounts of soaring vocals, fiery riffing, and the occasional church organ, and impressive lyrical solos shredding across dangerous curves. Production is stellar, particularly considering it's a debut, but the combination of clever songwriting and hard rock chops had me on my knees from the very first listen. All right, I'll stop.
Not sure if there's some Mutt Lang or Andy Sneap type of production acumen lurking anonymously on this thing, but the nuances of quality rock and roll just seem to spring up everywhere. Father, I Have Sinned kicks off with a ripping guitar solo, and that little ghost lick in the chorus is pure genius. Make Her Mine takes off on a symphonic power metal groove. It's hard to imagine someone like Doro belting out the chorus. I made her sin, rubbing scissors in the dark.
Okay.
But who am I to question Lilith's poetic license? And who ever said nuns have no fun?
King Diamond.
Other highlights include the unexpected burlesque-style horn breakout in the middle of Free Yourself.
How'd they pull that off at a show? It's like Chicago all of a sudden.
And the sort of nod to accept in the chorus of Pleasure from Pain. Great hooks and whip-smart execution. Yeah, I know. And I have a feeling this is only the beginning for this new moniker.
One more. Visually and musically, let the new Dogma album serve as a yardstick by which impressive debuts shall be measured. This is Made Her Mine.
Listen in my mouth, so that they won't hear. Fingers in my grave. I made her see through the shadows of the night. To the hollow together. I made her see, rubbing scissors in the dark. Against the tide. I made her.
This is Deaf Ears 3. Dead Poets Society. Vision. End of January, and we have the first ridiculously impressive album of 2024 from Boston's Dead Poets Society. Their second full length is forming back in 2013. Vision just came out last week on Spine Farm, and it's a stunner. 13 songs that hit the bullseye with sexy groove, tons of hooks, and the occasional glass-shattering vocal from crooner Jack Undercoffer.
Great name.
Anyone who, like us, was grossly disappointed in the last Royal Blood album can feel confident migrating over to the Dead Poet Society camp, stat, as this thing offers everything you could possibly want from that genre, and they're not even English.
Do tell.
Boston again break the King's Peace with an album guaranteed to get you shaking your ass on the very first listen. Would anyone ever accuse me of hyperbole? Don't answer that.
I don't know.
Suffice to say, these guys make Queens of the Stone Age sound like they're actually from the Stone Age. You know, banging bones on rocks, chasing woolly mammoths. Were they from the Stone Age?
What are we, paleontologists now? From the very first bass-heavy foot-stomping groove of opener 5:29:45, undercofter wailing, "A new freedom, can you feel it?" I was completely smitten by this cagey group of rock miscreants. The dancey stuff is the best. Christ, the whole album is dancey. Like the economically challenged groove of Hurt. A disc highlight with lyrics like, "Are you insane? How are you dealing with your money situation? You'll be running for the rest of your life." Too much invested in Amway, apparently, or maybe some crypto. I don't know. Sadly, I was too busy wiggling around and playing air guitar to worry about the protagonist. I Hope You Hate Me grinds along on a Depeche Mode informed beat, the perfect soundtrack for an impromptu sexual restroom encounter at a rave. Oh, come on, we've all been there. But the real crusher is the one I'm going to play for you now. Hard to Be Good. I know you meant it 'cause you said it like a broken record.
I know it's hard to be.
This was a good show. I just liked it. It was good. Alice Cooper
We
action,
even had some presidential humor
presidential humor.
and planetary humor.
Get that goddamn bird out of here. Juju eyeballs and toe jam footballs.
Oh my God.
Steve, what did like 4 Steve Miller jokes? Where did that come from? I don't know.
Steve Miller snuck in there all over the place,
It's crazy. Yeah,
as well as Howard Helm. We could have
Probably-
actually tied him into the Alice Cooper thing, too.
probably could have. But when he hung himself, he made sure his arm was in there. So
This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Special thanks to Johnny from Health for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth themes courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs. Deaf Ears theme by Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Season 3 artwork courtesy of KC Angel. You can find him on Instagram, KC Angel Art. Deaf Ears bands include Dead Poet Society, Tenside, and Dogma. Get over there and check them out. All content 2024, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
is it my body? You hurt my feelings.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.